Well, first of all, I want to say this is an amazing conference, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm humbled by your keynote speakers. Ambassador In-Ho Lee is somebody who I've admired for decades, and when she resigned from the board of KBS, I think it was back in February, to me that was the canary in the coal mine for South Korea's democracy, because she's a national treasure. And I remember going to Wellesley and hearing all about her, and I was like, I know her. But and also Gordon Chang, he's been one of the first people to speak out publicly about what's going on in South Korea and awakening our country, because folks don't understand what's happening there. And he's been the person that's been the most outspoken, and I'm so humbled to be speaking it right after him as he keynoted this afternoon. I will tell you, I know that things are very bleak right now. I definitely feel that. And whenever I feel that way, I carry this around with me always. It is a story that was written in 1999 by a Voice of America reporter after we had finally gotten a congressional hearing on the political prisoner camps in North Korea. 1999 took us a year of bugging members of Congress, literally a year, to host a hearing on the political prisoner camps. And this Voice of America reporter wrote this story, and it got spiked by the Department of State, and he was so upset about it, he leaked this to me with the cover memo of why it got spiked. All right, this is 1999, April 1999. The State Department does not clear the attached VOA editorial for the following reasons. Number one, it's not based on U.S. government verified information. Only report from defectors question accuracy. Because remember, 1999, there weren't that many defectors. There were only about 5 that had survived the political prison camps. Second reason, you'll love this. The timing is not good. The 4-party talks just completed, and visits to underground construction sites is upcoming. So even back there, the manipulation by North Korea and the failure for the West and for our country to stand up for the suffering in North Korea was very much occurring. And I use this as encourage to remain vigilant, because now there is no question. There have been so many people that have escaped. There are so many survivors of political prisoner camps. There's over 30,000 eyewitnesses. February 2014, Greg cited the UN Commission of Inquiry. It is indisputable that crimes against humanity are occurring in North Korea every day. Gross violations of human rights. So I will tell you, as a North Korea human rights activist, that many of my coalition, North Korea Freedom Coalition members are here, and we have been talking for at least a year and a half, going on 2 years, about our concerns about South Korea and whether we need to start a South Korea Freedom Coalition, because folks are so worried. And our North Korea Freedom Coalition meetings have been dominated by what's going on in South Korea. But I want to really thank lawyer Kim Kyung-woo and Young Chul Kim for putting this conference together as an awakening. I see this as an awakening conference to try to awaken people to understand what's happening in South Korea. Now, I have the unique distinction of being a North Korean human rights activist for over 20 years, since 1996, when I first got involved in promoting North Korean human rights issues. And at the time, Kim Young-sam was president of South Korea. But I continued my activism through the DJ Kim and Roh Moo-hyun presidencies and up until today. I don't know whether we're going to survive the Moon Jae-in presidencies, but I'm certainly hoping that what happens today will help us to awaken to that threat. I'm going to tell you a quick funny story as an illustration of just how quickly and dramatically things can change. When I first started this work, the South Korean government, this is 1996, 1997, 1988, 1999. 1999, the first year, was the first year I got to go to South Korea. And the South Korean, it was there for an NGO conference, the first North Korean Human Rights Conference. And the South Korean government really appreciated what I was doing in bringing defectors and hosting them in the US, getting them an audience. to speak out about what was happening so that people in the United States would understand the threat South Korea was facing because of North Korea. So at the time, the South Korean government really appreciated what I was doing, and they treated me like a VIP. They sent a car to pick me up. They whisked me through the airport like I was a diplomat, like I was an ambassador. And it was really very humbling and just such an honor. But during the Sunshine Policy, things completely changed. And there was no car to pick me up. There was a car, however, to follow me when I went to do different appearances. But things totally changed. But what's confounded me as a North Korean human rights activist is the belief that I've always had, and that's this. The one person in the world who is morally bound and constitutionally bound to be the #1 advocate for the suffering people of North Korea, those born north of the DMZ, is the president of South Korea. So it's always troubled me greatly when anyone who is in that position of power would turn his back on the people who are suffering in North Korea. I additionally believe very strongly, and the reason why I've been invited to address this panel is that the greatest peaceful weapon we have are the defectors. I know this, I've been working with them for over 20 years. There's nothing more powerful than defectors living in freedom in South Korea communicating with North Koreans still living as slaves under the Kim dictatorship. The defectors and I often use the phrase, the truth will set them free, because we deeply believe that if North Koreans knew the reality of their circumstances and the truth of our concern and care for them, things would change overnight. And I've often been mocked and belittled for having that view about the people of North Korea. But I will tell you this, even the elites wake up every morning with the simple choice: be faithful and loyal to this dictatorship, or be hauled off to see your family murdered in front of your eyes and to be publicly executed. Even the elites have to make that choice. And I see that, we see people getting executed, we see high-level people defecting. Hwang Jang-yap, I was very close to Hwang Jang-yap. He defected because he thought the regime was going to collapse. And I absolutely believe the regime would have collapsed if we hadn't had the Sunshine Policy, and if DJ Kim hadn't bailed out that regime and Roh Moo-hyun, continuing that policy. So the important thing about what the defectors are doing, and that's why the Kim Jong-un is so fearful of the defectors. There's nothing he fears more than the defectors, because they're the ones that have educated us about the truth about North Korea. So I want to address how the greatest advocates for peaceful unification and spreading the truth to North Korea are being directly impacted negatively by the Moon administration. There's 3 major ways that they're doing this. First of all, I want to recognize Kim Sung-min, who's my little brother, who's the chair of, director of Free North Korea Radio, helped me put together some of these specific cases because I wanted to give you specific examples, much like that outstanding presentation you did about Juche. 3 major ways: cutting all funding, blocking their activities, and criminalizing those activities. And then number 3, failing to pursue the goals of the North Korea Human Rights Act, and instead perverting and subverting the purposes of these types of efforts. There's 3 ways that the Moon administration is doing that. So number 1, cutting off funding. Hwang Jang-yap was the chair and the founder of the Committee for the Democratization of North Korea. It was established in 1997 when he defected. This foundation was like the umbrella group for all the defector organizations, okay? Even during the Sunshine years, even during DJ Kim and Roh Moo-hyun, this group continued to be funding. For the first time, they have been completely shut down. And that's one example. It's the first time that happened. Second of all, the second photo, the North Korea Human Rights Foundation. On June 14, the government officially closed down the North Korea Human Rights Foundation, citing financial reasons. The North Korean defector organizations, they're already totally demoralized by what's happening in the Moon government, were infuriated because the excuse was absurd that the government closed down the office because of financial losses. That's the term they used. The establishment of the North Korea Human Rights Foundation was one of the requirements of the North Korea Human Rights Act. It's absurd. to say they're shutting it down because of financial losses when they were constitutionally bound to fund it. Because of the National Assembly has been fighting over the appointment of the board members, the foundation's work has been hindered anyway since the North Korean Human Rights Act passed 2 years ago. Another example is that grant programs for North Korean human rights and support programs for North Korean defectors, which should have been done under the Ministry of Interior and Security, the Ministry of Women and Family, the Seoul City Government, and the Office of Prime Minister, have all practically stopped. Second thing they're doing, they're blocking their activities and they're with the work to plan to criminalize these efforts. This is the second category. It's truly scary. And whether you're a leftist and a rightist, you should be really terrified about this. And I realize that leftists in South Korea are not like leftists in the US, because leftists in South Korea are pro-Kim Jong-un. But not only is the Moon government blocking activities of defectors, but it's working to criminalize them. So first example, this photo. This is Lee Young-kul. And get this, okay? He's the head of the North Korea Strategic Information Center. By the way, fascinating story about his background I can share with you later, but for the lack of time, I won't go into that right now. But Lee Young-kul was one of the elites, scientist, brilliant guy. He was charged for selling information on North Korea, getting information from the Defense Intelligence Command, including a screenshot from his computer, which he gave to the Japanese embassy military attaché, and he'd been doing this for a while. Mr. Lee's attorney claimed that it was the usual information exchange that had been going on for years, but he was arrested for this. But get this, he was introduced by the Defense Intelligence Command to the personnel at the Japanese embassy for the purposes of sharing information. Because the information between allies about North Korea is critical to the security of South Korea, Japan, and other democratic nations. Second example, and this is one I'm very passionate about, Fighters for a Free North Korea. Many of you are familiar with the balloon launches that Park Sun-hak does. We call him Fireball. That's been his nickname. He's been doing these balloon launches for decades. And I know they're controversial. They've always been controversial. But they're based on proven methods and techniques. The balloon launches are based on proven methods and techniques to get information in North Korea, to get radios, pamphlets, and it was based actually on a U.S. military operation known as Operation Geely, which is truth, which is something that the U.S. military used to do to get radios into North Korea. Furthermore, the fact that the Kim regime goes absolutely nuts over these balloon launches is proof of how effective they are. And why would somebody like Park Sun-hak risk, and so many of the defectors, risk their lives, risk their fortunes, because a lot of them do this with their own resources, and their honor, because they often risk arrest? Why would they risk their lives, their fortunes, and their honor to continue to do these outreach activities? It's because they know for a fact as North Korean defectors that they work. And that Park Sun-hak saw leaflets. There's a gentleman that started over a year ago doing the rice bottle launches, because it's really hard to get stuff across the border now, because China and North Korea have worked so hard to seal that border. So it's harder to get cross-border information across the border. So they started doing the rice bottle launches. The guy that started the rice bottle launches, why did he start the rice bottle launches? Because he was in the military in North Korea in Hwanghae province. And looking at the coast, he saw all the trash washing up from South Korea. So now he's a defector, he's living in South Korea, and he's thinking, how do I get stuff to North Korea? I'm gonna hurl it off of Gangwon Island. And that's why they do the rice bottle launches, and they're sending in medicine and information, because they know when they hurl those rice bottles into the water, it's going to wash up on Hwanghae province. And they've tracked these with GPS, they know what's happening. But that's just another example. The defectors know how to get the information in. They know what's effective, they know how to do it. But they're starting to shut this down. I want to show photo 4. Oh, you showed that one. This just happened. This just happened this past week. Park Sun-hak was trying to do a balloon launch at night quietly, and the police showed up to try to stop him. I can tell you my own personal experience, because I was doing balloon launches when Roe was president, and almost got arrested a couple of times. At photo number 5, that next photo. Yeah, this is me trying to talk the soldiers not to arrest me, because And it was an interesting story, but we got stopped by the soldiers and the police when we were doing a balloon launch when Roe was president. And I show you this picture because we were showing them, this is what we're doing, read this. And the police officer actually said, I believe in everything you're doing, but we've been ordered to arrest you. So we talked them out of arresting us and just said, well, just let us finish up and then we'll leave. And then the military and the police would not leave until we left. So we were really close to a restaurant, so we went in and had lunch at that spot. But I want to show you the next photo because this is what amazingly happens when somebody new gets elected. After Sunshine Year, President Lee Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye, they also sent police to the balloon launches. But guess why? They wanted to make sure that the balloon launches were successful. And the leftists would show up to try to block these launches, but they would send the police to protect the launches, to make sure that this information got up in the air and on its way to North Korea. So that's photos 6 and 7 are balloon launches happened during the presidency of Lee Myung-bak and President Park Geun-hye. Now this last one is
last balloon.
Yeah. What does it say?
Says North Korean human rights angel.
I don't know. I can't read Korean. Go ahead. Photo number 8. Now what happened under President Moon in April? We had North Korea Freedom Week in Seoul for the first time. For the first time during North Korea Freedom Week, we always do a balloon launch. It was blocked by hundreds. Those are the police that greeted us. Hundreds. They surrounded the truck with all the materials and they would not let us proceed. That's what's happening in the suppression of freedom of speech under this current president. Now, criminalization of these activities. Assemblyman Kim Young-wook, Democratic Party of Korea ruling party, has co-authored and introduced a revision of the Inter-Korean Exchange and Cooperation Act, which stipulates that, quote, any attempt to distribute the materials to North Korea should be approved by the Ministry of Unification on item and the method before distribution. Violation of this law can result in imprisonment of up to 3 years or a penalty of up to $27,000. Moreover, the proposed revision states that the approval of the Ministry of Unification can be canceled ex officio at any time based on any circumstances. Basically, if this law is enacted, it would provide a legal ground to stop all the balloon launches and the rice bottle launches and all the activities the North Korean defectors are doing to get information to their beloved brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and family members they left behind and imprison them. That's what's going on in South Korea today. Final topic, failing to pursue the goals of the North Korean Human Rights Act, but instead perverting and subverting the purposes of these types of efforts. The South Korean government should be at the forefront of the activities to promote information and human rights in North Korea. But instead, they're failing to pursue the goals and they're perverting the purposes of the legislation that's been passed in some of these foundations. For example, North Korea Intellectuals Solidarity. Last May and June, News Tapa, one of the extreme leftist media outlets founded by Chae Sung-ho, now president of MBC, started a series of reports on NKIS and NKSIS. Now what that tells me is these groups are really effective if this is happening. They started these reports alleging evidence that these organizations embezzled money that they received from the President Lee and President Park administration. They attacked their leaders. It's believed that the next target is Peace Corps, which is another North Korean defector-based group, and Kim Jong-il, who's another defector. All these public attacks started all of a sudden when the Moon administration came in. And when the reports came out, Kim Hyung-kwan and Lee Young-kul, the head of these groups, they provided all the evidence proving that these charges were completely false. And of course, none of that was covered by the media. Second thing, photo number 9, Ministry of Unification. There's one woman resigned that was working at the Ministry of Unification earlier this year because instead of continuing her work helping support defectors, she was told her job now was to monitor them. She was in the Ministry of Unification Human Rights Bureau and basically told, you're no longer supposed to help defectors, you're supposed to spy on them. So the purpose of the Ministry of Unification has completely changed from supporter to hostile. just as, next photo, the HANA Foundation. HANA Foundation has attempted to try, good people had been working at the HANA Foundation attempting to try to support the defector NGOs, but they were continuously blocked from undertaking any plan to help these defector groups. And to quote one woman who worked at the foundation, "From the beginning, our hands were tied because as soon as the opposition found out about supporting defector organization activities, the opposition party would jump all over us and criticize the activities of the foundation." So from the very beginning, they were blocked from doing the work that they were supposed to do. Final photo and last comment. Moon Jae-in. I mentioned that there's nobody that should be more working harder for the freedom of the North Korean people, standing up for their suffering than Moon Jae-in. But instead, that's who he's working for, right there. And I have to tell you a quick story, and then I think I'm under time. I was trying to be shorter with my time. One quick story. I got to see Moon Jae-in when he first came to speak at his maiden speech in the U.S. after he got elected president. It was at CSIS. I got like a second, third, I got a second row seat actually up, because the Korean government still like me. I think they still like me. But anyway, I had it like right up front. I mean, I was like right there. Like I was right behind Bob King, so I wasn't in the second row. Anyway, it was kind of funny that I got that great seating. But anyway, I was right there, right in front of him. And as he was talking about Korea and his presidency, and I noticed that he never said a single word about the North Korean people and the human rights suffering that was happening. And I was really disturbed by the speech. But he talked about all we want is peace. We just want peace. We just want peace. And what flashed through my mind, I don't know if you've seen the movie Independence Day. Have any of you seen that movie, Independence Day? Yes? Okay. Where there's a scene in that movie where they've got the alien beast behind glass, okay? And the President of the United States goes over to try to communicate with this alien creature. And the President says, "Can there be peace between us?" And the alien creature says, "No peace," you know. And then the President says, "Well, what do you want from us?" And the alien creature says, "Die." You know, and that's what was going through my mind, watching Moon Jae-in. And I thought, this is the man who's supposed to be the leader of the Republic of Korea, and it disturbed me greatly. And then not many months later, Ambassador Lee resigns at KBS, and I knew things were looking really bleak. So with that, I just want to tell you, I know we have a huge task before us, but we have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant. And I just want again to thank Lawyer Kim, and you and I just got to know each other, became fast friends. Young Chul Kim for all the work to raise these warning sounds, and again, an honor to be with Ambassador Lee and Dr. Gordon Chang. God bless you all. Try to keep them on.